Hello, everybody. It's Emma here again at Open Skies Hypnotherapy. I'm really sorry that I have been neglecting my podcasts for a little while, just because I have been extremely busy with my writing. And as many of you all know, I have a couple of really exciting events coming up. The first one is my adult self-help book called Whose Stuff Is It Anyway? And that is going to be launching on Zoom on the 25th of September at 7 p.m. That's a free event. I'm just asking people to fill in a Google registration form if they are wanting a link so that I can keep a record of who I need to send a link to. Because the link is an exclusive link. Because if you come along to the live event, you have got a chance to take advantage of certain offers and promotions that other people who don't attend the live event will not have access to. So that's really exciting. The second event is the launch of my children's book, You Are Enough. The official launch. The book is already released on Amazon, but the official launch celebration will be on the 30th of October. That's during half term, and that's going to be an in-person event with me in Norwich. And I'm going to be joined by my good friend and fellow author, Rachel Hall. Rachel is a very, very esteemed author, having written 14 novels. She's a Sunday Times bestseller. She was the senior editorial director of HarperCollins, and she has a very long association with the UEA's creative writing faculty. So I'm very honoured to have her attending as my interviewer. And there will also be mindfulness and craft activities for children as well, because this event is in half term. So do bring your children. The link to book the event is up on Eventbrite, and it's under You Are Enough book launch. So you can go on there, book a ticket, and do come along and join us. We would love to see you. The purpose of tonight's little chat is not, however, to talk too much about the books, but it's rather to talk about two things that have happened recently that highlight the need for continuing education in terms of raising awareness of emotional well-being. Now, I've had two things happen over the last couple of weeks that I really have been quite affected by. And it has made me realize, and this is not again about blaming or shaming, this is about raising awareness and educating. My ultimate aim is to make sure that we are all educated in how we are relating to other people. That is the subject of my latest adult book. But in the context of this evening, I want to talk about this in the context of two things that have happened lately. So the first thing that's happened is I had a lady come to see me who told me that she had been to see a therapist prior to coming to see me, and this therapist had re-traumatized her without intending to. Excuse me, without intending to. There's no therapist, I would hope, that would intend to do such a thing. But it just shows again the importance of really being present in the room and picking up on your clients' body language, picking up on what they're telling you, even without speaking, and really being attuned to your client. And this is the importance of that therapeutic relationship and building up that rapport. Now, in this situation, and obviously without breaking any confidentiality, so I'm not going to give the actual example of what happened, but I'm going to give an example that will highlight what I mean. So just think for a minute about the fact that you might have somebody who's got quite low self-esteem, for example, and they're feeling quite unable to validate themselves. They feel that they need other people for validation. And I'm sure that this is something that most of us can relate to at some point in our lives. We all feel that we need to look outside of ourselves for validation. And so if you think about the lady that I'm speaking about, um, she would be somebody perhaps who would seek validation from outside of herself. Now, let's just imagine that the person that she's seeking that validation from is a close person in her life. It's part of her inner circle of people. And things haven't always been great between these two people. They've had some quite difficult relationship dynamics in the past. And to an outsider looking in, the relationship might not look to be particularly healthy, perhaps. There might be things there that might concern an onlooker who is looking in from the outside. If we put a label on what's going on in that relationship, we're imposing our own agenda onto somebody else's stuff. And that's very dangerous because we shouldn't be labeling anybody else or anybody else's relationships because we are coming at that from our own perspective. And we are not stopping to consider what that relationship might be giving to the person who's in that relationship. Because to us, it might look like, well, what's she doing in that relationship? It's not giving her anything, it's not serving her. We personally might not decide to stay in such a relationship. However, what the person was getting from the relationship was validation. And they were getting something that they desperately needed that at this particular time they couldn't actually find anywhere else. The only validation they were getting was coming from this relationship. So this relationship was very important to them. And yet the therapist had told them that the relationship was abusive. And she actually used that word, abusive. She said it was abusive. Now, can you imagine the damage that we're doing to this client, this person, by telling them that the one relationship in their life where they feel validated is now an abusive one? Because it's just going to re-traumatize them all over again. And they weren't ready to listen to that. They weren't ready to hear that. And we are treading very softly in a situation like this. We are almost putting on our kid gloves and really treading carefully and gently because we know that validation is very important for this person. We know that this relationship was the only place the validation was occurring. And it's not for us to judge the merit of that or otherwise, it's just for us to accept the circumstances and to be very mindful of the circumstances when we're trying to put a negative spin on the rest of the relationship. And it's about educating again, it's about raising awareness of actually looking at every nuance and every way that something might link to something else when we're actually trying to talk with a client. And this is part of my new book, Whose Stuff Is It Anyway? I talk about the damage of labels. And this is exactly what I mean by the damage of labels. A therapist has come wading in here with size 10 boots on, slapped a label on a relationship that to the therapist might have looked abusive, but to the client was actually giving her something very, very important, which was validation. And now she's very confused because she thinks, how can I have been validated by this person if this other person is now saying they're abusing me? And, we have to be careful not to put our own stuff onto clients. And I'm seeing this quite a lot. It's quite alarming at the moment how often I'm seeing things like this happening. So I'm just here to point out the things that we need to consider really when we're thinking about labeling somebody, and to make sure that if you are going to find a therapist, that they are regulated, please, by a professional body. I am a hypnotherapist. I am accredited with the GHSC, which is the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council. And I am now about to start my supervisor training to be able to supervise newly qualified hypnotherapists because I have a lot of experience now. So Do be careful when you are choosing a therapist, particularly hypnotherapy, because a lot of them seem to be unregulated and doing online training in a couple of days and thinking that that's enough to qualify you as a hypnotherapist. That is very dangerous. So please be mindful and be vigilant when you are selecting a therapist. So that was my first bugbear of the week. And my second bugbear of the week was this. I was attending an event the other day, and I was listening to a conversation, and I was trying very hard to understand what this person was getting at, and I was really struggling. So the conversation was around people not being satisfied with how they look. And the conversation was primarily talking about women and the fact that women seem to have a real problem with their looks and accepting how they look. And I'm sure that isn't just a woman's problem, but it was a meeting where there was only women present. So obviously we were putting a female spin on this. And the person that was talking at the time said something like, you can change your inner dialogue if you just keep repeating a different thing until it kind of sinks in. So if you look at a picture of yourself and you don't like it, if you can find one good thing about the picture, like, oh, my hair looks nice in that picture, and you keep repeating it, eventually your brain will believe it. And the more you keep saying it, the more likely it is that your brain will start to believe it. Now, that's damaging again, and I'm going to explain why. If you are somebody who has very low self-worth and you have been bullied, I was bullied at school because of my appearance. No amount of anyone telling me to repeat to myself, I am beautiful, my hair is lovely, was going to help me. In fact, it would have made me feel worse because I would have taken on board their advice and I would have thought, yeah, this is going to work. They said it would. They said it would. This is all I've got to do. I'm just going to keep repeating that I'm beautiful and then I'm going to believe it. And I would have repeated it and repeated it and repeated it for hours, days, weeks, and nothing would have changed. And then I would have become more frustrated with myself. And I would have thought, what on earth is wrong with me? Because even this isn't working. I must be really stupid. There must really be something wrong with me because it's working for everyone else, but it's not working for me. Again, this is about education. Um, this is about education from a therapeutic point of view. If you've got a client with very deeply ingrained limiting beliefs about themselves, the way to change their beliefs is not simply to ask them to stand in front of a mirror and repeat affirmations. Um, to start with, they probably hate themselves so much they don't even want to go anywhere near a mirror. And the second thing is that affirmations in that way simply won't work because there's some ingrained trauma at a much deeper level that needs to be looked at rather than just saying to them, hey, just keep telling yourself you look great and you'll believe it. And then they don't believe it. And then they get frustrated because it hasn't worked and they think they're a failure again. My work is very therapeutic. It's very psychotherapeutic. It's very deep level work, looking at actually getting to the root of these beliefs, examining where they come from, examining the impact they've had on your life, thanking the critical parent. When we don't want to ignore the critical part of us, we don't want to ignore it because that makes it worse. All of our parts are important. And again, I talk about this in my new book. Every part of us is important, even the ones that seem painful or difficult to manage. We don't want to alienate them. We want to thank them for keeping us safe because ultimately that's what they're doing. Um, they're keeping us safe in some way. And so we need to thank them. We need to acknowledge their hard work in trying to keep us safe from harm or hurt. And then we need to allow some inner child healing work to take place so that the critical part of us becomes less critical and more compassionate. And we can then start to move into self acceptance Self-acceptance does not come from simply standing in front of a mirror and telling yourself you look lovely, because it just isn't going to work. And I think affirmations are pretty pointless most of the time. So again, I hear these conversations going on around me, and I think, what is with some of these things, that we just need to be a little bit more informed about the effect of trauma, and a little bit more trauma informed in how we relate to one another sometimes. And I was just popping on really to talk about that. I say briefly, but I have rambled on a bit. But I wanted to just get this out into a YouTube video so people can have a look and have a chat about it. And please do reach out to me, obviously, if you would like to discuss it, or you think that I could help you to become more aware, educate you on the way that certain things can really have an impact on others around us. So, yes, I won't keep you any longer tonight. It is getting quite late, so I will say good night, and I will see you tomorrow over on my Facebook page, where I will be running the fifth letter in my A to Z of wellness. Tomorrow we're on letter E, and I'm very, very excited because I have written a poem to go with letter E, and you'll be able to see that over on my Facebook page bright and early tomorrow morning. But for now, take care, and thank you again for joining me. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.